Hello Bobcats. So today we're going to be learning about customary conversions. And here in the US, we use the customary system. So let's go ahead and start our lesson. Make sure you have your notes. Okay, so whenever we're talking about length, our measurements of units that we use are either inches, feet, yards, and miles. All of those are related to length. When we're talking about capacity, how much can something be held in a container, then we talk about gallons, quarts, pints, cups, fluid ounces. Okay, our fluid ounces are different than our weight ounces. Okay, when the abbreviation is just OZ, like so, this means weight, how heavy it is. Okay, if I go back to the previous slide, when we have fluid ounces, FLOZ, that means fluid ounces, that means capacity. Okay, so again, when we're talking about weight, we either use ton, pounds, or ounces. Now let's get started. Okay, so we've been learning about proportions, and we can use proportions to help us convert some measurements. So here, our first question is 3 feet equals how many inches? Okay, so we have to look at our chart, and we have to determine how many feet are in how many inches are in 1 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and look over to the right, and it's already written for me. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. That's what it says here. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. Okay, when you are solving your proportions, make sure that you are labeling. It is very important that you label. Okay, again, 1 foot equals 12 inches. But my question is asking for 3 feet. So 3 feet, again, go with your labels. Align with your labels. So I'm going to write the 3 under the feet. Okay, so 3 feet equals to, well, that's what I'm trying to solve. Okay, so now we use our scale factors, guys, and solve using scale factors. Now I can do this 2 different ways. I can go horizontally. So 1 times what gives me 12? Well, times 12. What I do to the top, I do to the bottom. 12 times 3 gives me 36. That would be 36 inches. Okay, that was one way of solving it. I could have also done it horizontally. So vertically. 1 times 3 gives me 3, and 12 times 3 gives me 36. It still gave me the same answer. So 36 inches. So 3 feet equals 36 inches. Okay, let's look at our second example. Now we're talking about weight because we have ounces and pounds. So 80 ounces is equivalent to how many pounds? Well, we need to solve for it. So look at our units. We have ounces and pounds. So now I go to my chart and look for ounces and pounds. So I know that 16 ounces is equivalent to 1 pound. Again, look at your units. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. That's already written for you. Alright, I have 80 ounces that I'm trying to convert into pounds. So I write my 80 underneath my ounces column. Okay, we keep our units together. 16 ounces, 80 ounces. Okay, and now you have your proportion set up. And now all you do is look for your scale factor. Okay, so if I can do 1 times 16 gives me 16, but when I do that at the bottom, I don't have nothing to multiply. So which means that I have to go backwards. So 16 divided by 16 gives me 1. And what I do to the top, I must do to the bottom as well. So 80 divided by 16. And I know that 16 goes into 85 times. So my answer would be 5. So 5 pounds equals 80 ounces. So I would write 5 pounds right here. Okay? It's not that hard, it's pretty easy. Okay, let's move on to our next slide. Okay. Now here's where we might encounter a second step. So let's look at letter A. 5 yards equals how many inches? The first thing we do is we identify our units. Yards and inches. So now I look at my chart. Okay, I found yards, but here I see feet. Inches is down here. Okay, so these two are not a side-by-side comparison. So I have to figure out is how many yards. So 1 yard is equivalent or equal to how many inches. Okay, my chart does not tell me that, but I can figure it out. So what you have to do is start at the lowest unit, which is inches, and multiply it with the one above it. Okay, by multiplying these two numbers, the 12 and the 3, it's going to give me how many inches are in 1 yard. So 12 times 3, that equals 36. So there's 36 inches in 1 yard. Okay, I rewrote my proportion. So I found out that 1 yard equals 36 inches, and now I have my proportion, and all I have to do now is look for my scale factor. Okay, I can go vertically. So 1 times what gives me 5? Well, that's times 5. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side as well. And then I multiply 36 times 5. I could go here to the side and do my math. 36 times 5. 5 times 6, 30. 0, carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. So my answer is 180 inches. So 5 yards equals 180 inches. Okay, let's go to letter B. 3 quarts equals how many pints? Okay, quarts and pints. So this is a side-by-side comparison. So this I can work with without doing that extra step that I did on letter A. So I need to figure out how many pints are in 1 quart. Well, I can clearly see it here. So I'm going to draw my proportion. So 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. Okay, and now scale factor it. 1 times what gives you 2? Well, times 2. 3 times 2 equals 6. So my answer is 6 pints. That one was easier. Okay, letter C. So here I have 7,000 pounds equals how many tons? Okay, so 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. Okay, so now I have my my proportion, and now all I have to do is find my scale factor. Well, I know that 1 times 2,000 gives me 2,000. So 2,000 is my scale factor. Okay, so letter C. My units are pounds and tons. So I look at my chart, I see tons and I see pounds. So 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. Okay, now I find my scale factor. Well, I could go 1 times 2,000 gives me 2,000, but then I don't have a number here to multiply by 2,000 to give me to 7,000. So I have to go backwards. So 2,000 divided by 2,000 gives me 1. So 7,000 divided by 2,000 gives me, well, I have to do my math. So I'm going to go over here to the side. 7,000 and 2,000. Now these are a lot of zeros here. So what we can do is use our mental math. And I know that 2 goes into 7 3.5 times. So my answer is 3.5. So 3.5. So 7,000 pounds equals 3.5 tons. Okay, let's look at letter D. 16 pints equals how many gallons? Okay, so pints down here and gallons up here. So this is not a side-by-side comparison, which means that I have to do that extra step. So I need to figure out how many pints are in 1 gallon. So I'm going to go down here to the lowest unit, so which is pints. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. So there's 8 pints in 1 gallon. Now that I have this, now I have my proportion, and now I get to just find my scale factor. Well, I know that 8 times 2 gives me 16. So then 1 times 2, well, that's 2. So there's 16 pints in 2 gallons. Okay, now let's look at letter E. So look at our units. We have ounces and we have pounds. So I go up to my chart and I look at ounces and pounds. Okay, so this is a side-by-side comparison, which means I don't have to do that extra step. So I can clearly see that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. And guys, be sure to always label. Even if it's repetitive, you always label, okay? Miss Lee and I will be looking for your labels. Alright, so now that you have your proportion set up, all you have to do is find your scale factor. Well, I could do 1 times 16, it gives me 16, but then when I do it at the top, I don't have a number here to multiply. Therefore, I have to go backwards. So, 16 divided by 16 gives me 1. So, 112 divided by 16, well, you come over here and you do your math. Divided by 16. Okay, and the answer is 7. So there, 16 goes into 112 7 times. So my answer is 7 pounds. So there are 112 ounces and 7 pounds. Okay, our last problem. Okay, so letter F. So look at our units. We have miles and we have feet. So we go up to our chart and we look at miles, we look at feet. So I can clearly see that this is not going to be a side-by-side comparison, which means that I'm going to have to do that extra step. So I need to see what 1 mile equals in feet. And by multiplying my feet and the number above it, that's going to give me my answer. So I have to multiply 1,760 times 3. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. So 8, carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21 plus 1 is 22. 2, carry the 2. 2 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So with this information now I can set up my proportion. So in 1 mile there are 5,280 feet. Okay, so now I just need to find my scale factor. So I can go either horizontally or I can go vertically. And I'm going to go vertically. So 1 times 3 gives me 3. So now I have to multiply 5,280 times 3. So I'm going to do that over here by the edge. So 5,280 times 3. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. And 3 times 5 is 15. So my answer is 15,840. So there are 15,840 feet in 3 miles. Good job, Bobcats.